The OECD says global employment levels won't bounce back from COVID-19 until at least 2023. The organization's latest employment outlook shows millions of people have been pushed out of the job market during the pandemic, and with many of them unlikely to return to work soon, global income inequality is expected to worsen. The OECD says about 114 million people worldwide have lost their jobs since the beginning of the pandemic in March 2020. Just 22 million of those positions were in the mostly wealthy OECD group of countries. That means the vast majority of employees affected were in medium to low income nations. People in poorly paid roles also lost more hours than those in more senior positions. The Paris-based institution says labor markets in developed nations have managed to recover only half of their job losses, with a full global recovery expected in 2023. Stefano Scarpetta joins me from Paris. He's Director of Employment, Labor and Social Affairs at the OECD. Welcome to the show. Now, some OECD members like Australia and Japan are expected to recover those job losses much faster than others like the UK and the US. Why is that? Why is there so much discrepancy?
Well, I think the main reason is because we have to remember that this has been first and foremost a health crisis. So countries like Australia, Japan, as well as New Zealand, but also Korea, managed to contain a number of cases of COVID, and this allowed them to maintain their economy relatively more open to economic activity than what we have seen in other countries that you're mentioning, United Kingdom, the US, but actually most of the European countries. So I think the way in which countries managed to contain or not the number of COVID cases has a lot to say about the shock on the GDP, on the economy, but also the shock in terms of jobs.
Also, Stefano, can you tell us a bit more about how the pandemic has impacted income inequality?
Well, what we know already is that the crisis had a very differential impact in terms of jobs and labor market conditions. It actually affected the most vulnerable group, young people, those with low level of skills, those on precarious form of employment. They've been really hard hit by the pandemic, much more than those with higher level of skill or with those on more stable jobs. Now, so far, this has not yet translated into a much larger increase in income inequality, also because of the extraordinary measures that were put in place in order to support low-income families. But these were extraordinary temporary measures. So there is a risk, since it will take time to fully recover, that this might actually translate an increase into income inequality.
Also, now we expect the job market to recover by 2023, but surely there's got to be differences among different sectors, right? What sort of jobs are going to be driving this growth? And are there any industries or professions that will never sort of return back to those levels that they were at prior to the pandemic?
Well, indeed, this crisis in particular has simply brought forward some structural changes that were taking place even before the pandemic. So yes, all sectors were affected, but some, like the service sector, were more affected. And we already observe even labor shortage in some occupation. In general, in those jobs that require some sort of digital skills. So to some extent, the job we have lost, we have not been recovering them, and actually a new job would be created. Sometimes actually require different type of skills. But I think in many of the new jobs emerging, some form of digital skill will definitely be needed. So that's why we have to invest a lot on training and retraining for those who have lost a job and those who are likely potentially to lose the job going forward.
And finally, Stefano, one of the key highlights that kind of struck me from your report was that the number of young adults who are not working and are also not enrolled in any institution for education or training has actually gone up. So what kind of impact can we expect that to have on the workforce of the future?
This is indeed one of the worst, if you like, manifestation of the impact of this crisis. We have seen the youth unemployment rate increasing actually twice as much as that of adults. But actually, many young people are simply withdrawn from the labor market altogether because they think there are no jobs for them. So this has brought up the NEET rate of neither employment, education, or training. And this is a big challenge going forward because this is the most educated generation entering the labor market. And we definitely have to give them a chance to find a job and to start building their own career. So I think one of the key policy challenges going forward is to give a tailored support to young people who still find it difficult to find a job, to find an entry into the labor market.
A challenge indeed for governments all over the world. Stefano Scarpetta joining us from Paris on behalf of the OECD. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us.